Are you ready to turn heads? Luxury isn't just worn, it's experienced. Introducing a Layla Cara style and new up-and-coming designer collection where exclusive shoes and bags for men and women meets your feet. How about you take a handbag and wear it in style, where each piece is personally designed by a Layla Carroll herself and handcrafted from the finest material in Italy. Leather, smooth like butter, bold, timeless, distinctly you. Step into true elegance and make your mark with a Layla Cara style where confidence meets craftsmanship. Visit a Layla Cara style and experience the luxury of art that you wear. Chapter 3, The Mask of Narcissism. So in chapter 3, I talk about when I've gotten with my first husband, Eric, and I go into more details about the marriage. I did talk about my marriage to Eric in my previous podcast, but I share a little bit more in this book with you. So let's listen.
Chapter 3, The Mask of Narcissism. Although there is no specific term widely recognized as the mask of narcissism in psychological or academic literature. However, the phrase might be used metaphorically to describe the facade or persona that individuals with narcissistic traits or narcissistic personality disorder, NPD, may present to the outside world. Narcissism refers to a personality trait characterized by a heightened sense of self-importance, a constant need for admiration, and a lack of empathy for others. People with narcissistic traits may often present a charming and confident exterior to hide underlying insecurities or fragile self-esteem. This facade, or mask, can be a way for them to maintain a positive self-image and gain approval from others. It's important to note that the term, the mask of narcissism, is not a formal psychological concept, but rather a colloquial expression that people might use to describe the outward persona of individuals with narcissistic tendencies. If you are dealing with issues related to narcissism or are interested in understanding it further, it's recommended to consult with mental health professionals or refer to reputable psychological literature. You can also hire a life coach such as Imaging Coaching LLC at www.imagingcoaching.com, who is experienced in this area, and can guide you on how to deal with this type of personality. Narcissistic personality disorder, NPD, is a mental health condition characterized by a pervasive pattern of grandiosity, a constant need for admiration, and a lack of empathy for others. Individuals with NPD often have an exaggerated sense of self-importance and may believe they are unique, special, or entitled to special treatment. They can be preoccupied with fantasies of unlimited success, power, brilliance, beauty, or ideal love. The mask of narcissism refers to the carefully crafted image that individuals with narcissistic traits present to the outside world. This image is designed to project confidence, success, and charm, while concealing their underlying insecurities and vulnerabilities. The mask is a defense mechanism that helps them maintain a positive self-image and manipulate others' perceptions of them. Here are some key characteristics and behaviors associated with narcissism. Grandiosity, a grandiose sense of self-importance, often exaggerating achievements and talents. Need for admiration, an excessive need for admiration and constant reassurance from others. Lack of empathy, difficulty understanding or recognizing the feelings and needs of others. Sense of entitlement, believing they are entitled to special treatment and exploiting others to meet their needs. Manipulative behavior, engaging in manipulative tactics to control and influence others. Envy and jealousy, feeling envious of others, and believing others are envious of them. Fragile self-esteem. Despite the outward confidence, individuals with NPD often have a fragile self-esteem that is easily bruised. It's important to note that while some level of narcissistic traits may be present in many people, individuals with narcissistic personality disorder exhibit these traits to a degree that significantly impairs their functioning and relationships. Dealing with someone with narcissistic traits can be challenging, and establishing healthy boundaries is crucial. If you or someone you know is struggling with relationships involving narcissistic behaviors, seeking the guidance of a mental health professional can be beneficial. Therapy, such as cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, or dialectical behavior therapy, DBT, may be helpful in addressing and managing these issues. It is easy to be charmed by a person with NPD. In the beginning of the relationship, if you are not careful, you can fall deep in love with them if you let your guards down too soon. Do not be eager to rush into a relationship with them if you see any of the 7 signs in them. Give it time to see if their personality is going to expand. That way you can protect your heart from making emotional decisions for you. Instead, you can make rational decisions based off of facts. When I was dating my first husband Eric, we both were 23 years old, and we thought we were ready for marriage. The day before he proposed to me, we got into our first big fight. I overheard him talking to a lady on the phone about me, telling her the two of them should be married and I should be married to her husband. I went off and lost my mind. But before I get into all the details of that, let me back it up a bit and give you some backstory. The lady, I will not give her name for protection reasons. I am not sure if she is still married to her husband or not, and I am long past the drama of the situation. The lady and Eric had been studying together for their finals in college, and he would go over to her house sometimes, and, yes, I would go with him. Then she would come over to our apartment. Eric and I had been living together for 11 months, and I was ready to make some changes in our relationship. I did not want to continue to live together unless he married me, and that was our agreement when we moved in together. By the end of the year lease, he will have to move out and we would continue to date each other while we both lived apart, or he would have to marry me. I didn't like the lady much, because I caught her kissing another man, that she and I had just met him a few hours ago when we went out. I was trying to become cool with her because Eric felt that we should have only married friends, and no single friends. That was something he would do often, and I found out later in our marriage he was trying to replace my current friends. So, as you can tell, I was not liking what I had heard him tell her over the phone. I proceeded to tell the both of them while they both were still on the landline, so this is the sh*t you been doing behind my back. Look here ho, I know where you live at, and I will come and drag your ass. Eric hung up the phone and came running up the stairs in our townhouse apartment. Get off the phone. I was only making a statement to let you see what I was talking about. Because you and her husband are a lot alike. BS, don't play with me, I said as I pushed him as hard as I could in his chest. I was mad. Eric and I continued to fight for hours, because he took my keys to keep me from going over to the lady's house and dragging her down the street. I had a lot of fight in me, in my 20s. Which led to Eric and I fighting each other throughout our entire 3 years of marriage. After Eric and I moved from San Antonio, Texas to Houston, Texas, he decided he didn't want me to work, and I thought it was a great idea while I went back to school and finished getting my cosmetology license. Although it seemed to be a great idea, it wasn't, because he started controlling the money. Whenever I wanted money, I had to tell him every dime I was spending it on, and if he didn't agree, especially if I was buying clothes, it would become an issue. I got tired of relying on him for money, so I went out and got myself a job working at Hewlett-Packard Company. My hours were from 6 p.m. to 6 a.m., and I chose that schedule. I chose to work the late shift because I was sick of fighting, and most of our fights took place at night. I thought it was a great chance to break away from all the madness. After my first night at work, I came home, took a shower, ate, and went to sleep. I woke up around 2 p.m. and noticed my car was gone. I called Eric to see why he took my car when he had his own car to drive, and he knew I had to go back to work that night. When he answered the phone, I could sense a tone in his voice like he was up to something, and I was trying to keep my cool and not go off on him. "Eric, when are you bringing my car back?" "I have to be at work at 6 p.m., I said in my tired voice. "I am not coming home tonight, and I hope you lose your job," he said, and hung up the phone in my face. At that point I was pissed off. I called the police, and when the officer showed up at our apartment, he took a statement and proceeded to tell me, "I am sorry, but there isn't anything we can do because the two of you are married and it's a civil matter. You are going to have to take him to court to get your car back." I looked that officer in his eyes and told him, "I'd be damned if I am going to wait that long to get my car back that belonged to me before we got married. I know where he is at, and I am going to get my car back tonight. Thanks for nothing, goodbye." After the officer left, I called a male friend of mine that Eric knew nothing of, and he drove me where my car was, and I got in my car and drove off. I drove back to our apartment to get some of my clothes, because I knew once he found out I came and got my car he was going to come back home ready to fight. As I was gathering my belongings, I called my job to let them know what was going on with me, and that I was not going to make it to work that night. My boss told me to take as much time as I needed to, and that my job was safe for me to come back to. By the time I was done putting my things into my car, Eric and one of his cousins pulled up. "Get in the car, man, and don't let her in. We need to talk. We do not need to talk. You have gone too far this time. I want a divorce." The look on his face changed from "we need to talk" to "you are not going anywhere." He opened the door of the driver's seat and got in. I hopped into the back seat. "Get out of my car." Then I looked over at his cousin. "What kind of man are you sitting here watching how he treats me?" I reached into one of my bags and pulled out my pepper spray and sprayed both of them in their faces. They opened the car doors and jumped out, and I tried to climb over into the driver's seat. As I was climbing over, both of them came back to the car trying to get back in, while Eric started kicking me and I sprayed them again. Then I finally planted my tail in the driver's seat, and I blanked out. I put the car in reverse and turned the car around and started chasing them down the road. It was about 2-something in the morning. This fight had been going on all night, and there were no cops in sight. Where were they at when I needed them? While I was chasing them, they both jumped a large ditch and ran across a field. My heart was pumping blood fast, I was sweating, and I was mad, like a mad dog. I was still blanked out as I turned my car toward them, and when I started to accelerate the gas, I heard the Holy Spirit speak to me, "You have your car. Do not continue to chase them. Just go." That was when I snapped out of it and turned my car back around and drove off. As months passed, Eric and I started getting marriage counseling. When I thought we were working on our marriage, I had gotten word that he had a baby on the way by some lady in San Antonio, and she was 8 months. I could not lose it anymore. I had no more fight left in me. It was truly time to file those divorce papers. It took me 3 years to get over that marriage and how he treated me. I was heartbroken. The facade of confidence and superiority. The facade of confidence and superiority in narcissism is a carefully crafted image that individuals with narcissistic traits present to the outside world. This facade serves as a protective shield, concealing their underlying insecurities, self-doubt, and vulnerabilities. The goal is to create an impression of grandiosity, self-assuredness, and exceptionalism. Here are some key elements of the facade. Charm and charisma. Narcissists often excel at charming and impressing others. They may be articulate, charismatic, and engaging, drawing people in with their captivating presence. Self-promotion. Narcissists frequently engage in self-promotion, highlighting their achievements, talents, and positive qualities. They may exaggerate their accomplishments to create an inflated image of themselves. Confidence. The facade includes an outward display of confidence and certainty. Narcissists may speak assertively, make bold claims, and exude an air of self-assurance even in situations where they may lack competence. Image management. Narcissists are often preoccupied with managing their public image. This involves carefully selecting what aspects of their life and personality to reveal to others, creating a curated version that aligns with their desired image of success and superiority. Superiority complex. Narcissists may express a belief in their innate superiority over others. This can manifest in an attitude of condescension, a dismissive demeanor, or a tendency to belittle others to reinforce their own perceived superiority. Attention-seeking. Narcissists crave attention and validation. The facade involves seeking constant admiration, whether through achievements, compliments, or other forms of positive reinforcement. Control and manipulation. Maintaining the facade often involves controlling and manipulating others to ensure that their idealized image remains intact. This can include gaslighting, subtle forms of coercion, or using others as extensions of themselves. It's important to recognize that the facade is a defense mechanism and a coping strategy for managing the narcissist's internal feelings of inadequacy. Behind the mask of competence and superiority, individuals with narcissistic traits may struggle with fragile self-esteem, fear of rejection, and an inability to handle criticism. Dealing with someone who presents a facade of confidence and superiority can be challenging. Establishing healthy boundaries, recognizing manipulation tactics, and seeking support from mental health professionals are essential steps for individuals dealing with narcissistic behaviors in themselves or others. How narcissists use charm and charisma to manipulate. Narcissists often employ charm and charisma as powerful tools for manipulation. Their ability to captivate and charm others is part of their strategy to control, influence, and achieve their goals. Here's how narcissists use charm and charisma to manipulate. Initial attraction. Narcissists are often skilled at making a strong and positive first impression. They may be charming, confident, and charismatic when meeting new people, drawing others in with their engaging personality. Flattery and adoration. To manipulate, narcissists frequently use flattery and adoration. They may shower their targets with compliments, praise, and expressions of admiration to create a sense of dependency and attachment. Confidence and authority. Narcissists project an image of unwavering confidence and authority. They may speak with conviction, make bold claims, and act as if they possess superior knowledge or skills. This can be enticing and persuasive, making it easier for them to influence others. Selective vulnerability. Charm often involves a degree of vulnerability. Narcissists may strategically share personal details or moments of vulnerability to create a false sense of intimacy and connection. This can make others feel special and more inclined to trust the narcissist. Mirroring. Narcissists are adept at mirroring the behaviors, interests, and values of their targets. By reflecting back what others want to see or hear, they create a sense of shared identity, making it easier to establish rapport and manipulate emotions. Social adaptability. Narcissists can adapt their charm to different social situations. They may effortlessly switch between personas to cater to the preferences and expectations of diverse audiences, gaining acceptance and influence. Manipulative flair. Charismatic narcissists often exhibit a flair for manipulation. They may use charm to divert attention from their questionable actions, downplay negative information, or create a favorable narrative that supports their agenda. Emotional manipulation. Narcissists may use charm to manipulate emotions. They may exploit empathy, sympathy, or guilt, making others feel responsible for their well-being or success. Emotional manipulation can be a powerful tool for controlling people's behavior. Isolation of targets. By charming individuals, narcissists may isolate them from their support networks. This isolation can make it easier for the narcissist to maintain control over their targets, as they become more dependent on the narcissist for validation and companionship. It's important for individuals to be aware of these manipulation tactics and to establish healthy boundaries. Recognizing the difference between genuine charm and manipulative behavior can be crucial in protecting oneself from the negative impact of narcissistic individuals. If you suspect you are dealing with manipulation from a narcissist, seeking support from friends, family, or mental health professionals is recommended. Unraveling the illusion of self-importance. Unraveling the illusion of self-importance in a person with narcissistic traits can be a challenging but essential step in fostering healthier relationships and personal growth. Here are some strategies that may help unravel the illusion of self-importance. Set boundaries. Establish clear and firm boundaries to protect yourself from manipulation and exploitation. Be assertive about your needs and expectations, and don't hesitate to enforce consequences if those boundaries are crossed. Maintain realistic expectations. Recognize that individuals with narcissistic traits may struggle with empathy and genuine connection. Adjust your expectations to reflect the reality of their behavior, and don't expect them to consistently prioritize your needs over their own. Limit emotional investment. Be cautious about investing too much emotional energy in relationships with narcissistic individuals. Understand that their self-centeredness may prevent them from reciprocating emotions in a healthy and balanced way. Focus on self-care. Prioritize your own well-being. Engage in activities that bring you joy and fulfillment, and surround yourself with supportive friends and family who understand and respect your needs. Educate yourself. Learn more about narcissism and the traits associated with it. Understanding the underlying dynamics can help you navigate relationships with individuals who exhibit narcissistic behavior. Avoid engaging in power struggles. Narcissistic individuals may thrive on power struggles and manipulation. Refrain from getting drawn into these dynamics, and instead, maintain your composure and integrity. Encourage accountability. Calmly and assertively encourage the narcissistic individual to take responsibility for their actions. Avoid blame or confrontation, but express your feelings and expectations clearly. Seek professional support. If dealing with a narcissistic individual is causing significant distress, consider seeking the guidance of a mental health professional or a life coach such as Imaging Coaching LLC at www.imagingcoaching.com. Therapy can provide you with coping strategies, validation, and support in navigating these challenging relationships. Practice empathy without enabling. While it may be difficult, try to understand the underlying insecurities and fears that drive narcissistic behavior. However, be careful not to enable or excuse harmful actions. Evaluate the relationship. Assess whether the relationship is genuinely healthy and fulfilling for you. If the negative aspects outweigh the positive, consider whether maintaining the relationship is in your best interest. It's important to note that changing a person with narcissistic traits is generally challenging, as these traits are deeply ingrained in their personality. Focusing on your own well-being and making informed decisions about your relationships can contribute to a healthier and more balanced life. If you find it challenging to navigate these relationships on your own, seeking support from friends, family, or mental health professionals is highly recommended.
We'll be back after a quick break.
If you haven't already, check out my luxury shoe and bag collection, a Layla Cara style. Each piece is personally designed by me and handcrafted from genuine Italian leather. Whether you're dressing up or keeping it casual, These pieces were made to help you walk with confidence. Because real style starts from how you feel. Go to AlaylaCarrollStyle.com and experience these bold, timeless, and completely all you. Check it out. You might find something you like. So, in chapter 3, I talked about the relationship, the marriage to Eric. And when I was married to him, we was young. We was 24 years old when we got married. So we got together, we was 22, going to 23. And then we got married at 24. So we was really practically just becoming adults. We didn't have no business getting married. We didn't know what we was doing. But I just felt as though if I was going to live with a man, then we should be married. That's how I felt. So I have a lot of old school ways in me, old school values from my grandmother. Because my grandmother was married to my granddaddy since she was 14 until she died. She died at 65. And my granddaddy was so much older than her. And she had her kids with him. Altogether, there's 8 children. And I was like, that's the way it's supposed to be. At least that's what I thought. And my mother got married to my dad at a young age too. She was 16 when she married my dad. My dad was in his 20s. So, and then she ended up having, they ended up having my brother. Then they had me. So I knew that marriage was a part of what my life was supposed to be if I was going to be living with a man. And I really looked back at the situation and I said to myself, I was pressured into that situation. And what I mean by pressured, because if my mother wouldn't have acted the way she did by putting me out. So why did she put me out? Let's talk about that for a second. When I moved back to San Antonio on my own and she came back to San Antonio from Bay City, I was still living with my best friend Cindy, but I was about to graduate from high school. And I remember telling her in a letter that if you move back to Bay City, then I will move in with you, but I cannot move back to Bay City. I just can't do it. So I was like, if you move back to San Antonio, I'll move in with you, but I just cannot move back to Bay City. Bay City was just not a place for me to grow. It just wasn't. To me, Bay City is more for retirees or factory workers, plant workers, or just people who, I don't really know how to explain. It's like, it's not a place if you have dreams and goals. That's not the place to be. Put it like that. And I had a lot of dreams and goals and aspiration of what I wanted to do. I used to do hair back when I was younger. So I saw myself getting my own salon and doing major big styles of stylish hair, not just small town people. I wanted to go to the metropolitan, the big city. I wanted to be there. And there was no way that I could be able to do what I wanted to do in that small town. So, of course, I expressed that to her. Then when I did get to San Antonio and she did come to San Antonio herself and we moved in, I was dating another guy. I was dating my high school sweetheart or whatever. And he went off to college. And then, of course, he ended up coming back. And I really didn't talk about him in the story. And the reason why I didn't talk about him in my book, because he wasn't a narcissist. He wasn't the type of person that was trying to control me. He allowed me to do me and be myself. So there was no reason to add him to the book, because in that relationship, it was actually my first fiance. I was 21 years old and we was going to get married. But that situation ended badly because, I ain't going to say it ended badly. I'm going to put it like this. The reason why that did not go, because I was afraid to get married at that particular age, because I hadn't lived my life to be able to be free and be single. And I started going out to the clubs. I started doing things that I thought was very fun, but I wanted to do it without being attached to somebody. So that's why we ended up splitting. And now when I said it ended badly, I'm talking about the part where his mother interfered into our relationship. And it's crazy because to this day, me and his mother is really good really cool with each other. And she said that every time I talk to her, she's like, you supposed to be my daughter-in-law. I'm so sorry that I did what I did to y'all. I should have stayed out of your relationship. You and him would be married to this day. I messed that situation up. I really wish I wouldn't have done that. I'm so sorry. She does that every time she talks to me, and I tell you, just leave it alone. Like, it's over with. I'm not going back. I'm sorry, but I'm not going back. We had our time. Our time is over. And I learned a lot from that relationship, and hey, it is what it is. We was high school sweethearts. I mean, just what it was. And I didn't know anything about being grown and being on my own, and there was no way I was going to be able to experience that getting married at that age. Now, which you might say 2 years later, 3 years later, what's the difference? Well, when I met Eric, I was living with my mom, and we had just decided that we was going to be together, and it wasn't to a point where we was gonna live together, because he lived in Houston and I stayed in San Antonio, so I wasn't really seeing us together like that. We was just getting started, and he would drive to Houston on the weekends and spend the weekend with me, and then on Monday or Sunday evening come back to Houston, because he was working for his dad and his grandfather. His dad's dad had their own business, and they would do satellite and everything like that, put satellite up on people's houses. So he was doing that, so he would come back and they would do the work or whatever. So I knew he wasn't coming to stay, but my mom thought that's what he was doing, because she was like, why he's here? Why is he here so long? And I'm thinking like, he just here visiting for the weekend. Oh no, ain't no man gonna come live on us for free. He gonna have to start paying rent, all this stuff. And yes, my mama was really about money, and to this day she is kind of still like that. But at that particular time, she was really about money. And she's like, if he gonna stay here, he's gonna have to pay rent. All I'm like, but he's only here on the weekend. But he's here 4 weekends out of the month. That's every month. That's the whole month, And I'm thinking like, are you serious? Oh, we would have finna go through this. And then she even went so far to where she brought it up to him. And he was like, what? Why would your mama think I'm supposed to pay rent? I said, that's how she feel. And me and her got into it. And then she was like, well, you can get out. And that's how I ended up getting out and going to go live with him and his sister. His sister stayed in San Antonio, so I would go live with him and his sister at the time. And I couldn't stay at the sister's house that long. I had a very complex problem about living with people, especially if I didn't know them like that, and I didn't know her like that, and I was not always comfortable, because two women can't share a home together unless they are literally family and they really like each other. But to be strangers and I'm the your brother's girlfriend, that was not going to happen. So I told him straight up I was getting my own place. And when I got my place, he was like, well, I'm going to move in with you. And I was like, what about the place in Houston? He was like, no, I'm going to move in with you. And that's how we end up in the situation that we end up in and getting married so early. In the marriage, we did do a lot of fighting. Oh, man, talk about fighting. Our fights went on a lot. We had the pastor at our house all the time trying to diffuse our fights, trying to counsel us. It was just crazy. And I was very, very feisty. I was a feisty 20-some-year-old girl. Oh, I was feisty. And he was too. Oh, he was so feisty. But he was a little different because of the fact that I felt like something was wrong with him mentally, and I used to say it a lot because he would snap at the drop of a dime. Like, if anything, his mood would go from one extreme to the next. We can be really, really happy throughout the day, and soon when nighttime fall, if I was like, hey, I'm gonna go to Tamika's house for a little while, for about an hour, he would just flip out. And I was like, what is your problem? And come to find out later, after we divorced and everything, he was diagnosed with bipolar, and a lot of that came from him with the trauma that he went through when he was a kid with his mother, as well as military, because he was also retired military. He got medically retired because he had an explosion on his hand from a gun that exploded and blew his finger off, and he just never dealt with it the right way. And getting married to him like that was very, to me, I think we was just too young, and we should have just waited. At least gave it time enough for me to see more about him and know that it wasn't a right thing to do to get married. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and do chapter 4. Are you feeling overwhelmed and exhausted by stress? Introducing stress management with imaging coaching, your ticket to a calmer, more balanced life. In this journey you will be taking with us here at Imaging Coaching, we'll equip you with powerful techniques and tools you can use to conquer stress, regain control, and transform your life. From deep breathing exercises to mindfulness practices, you'll discover the tools to relax your mind and body. Come join us on this transformative path and unlock a world of inner peace and resilience. Don't let stress hold you back any longer. Take charge of your well-being today with Imaging Coaching, your stress management team. Discover clarity. Defeat stress through Imaging Coaching at imagingcoaching.com. At imagingcoaching.com. At imagingcoaching.com. At imagingcoaching.com.